Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Mind of Sai Marie. Today, I'm joined by a special guest who is a powerhouse in the world of personal and professional transformation. Ashlieya Mariano is a high performance coach and the strategist who helps leaders, entrepreneurs, and visionaries bridge the gap between where they are and where they want to be. Known for her sharp strategy and her ability to unlock the mental blocks that hold us back from our highest potential, Ashlieya is an absolute pleasure to have you here to kick off the new year, and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you for having me.
So, you've built a career helping people reach their peak potential. Looking back, what was the catalyst that drew you into the world of high performance coaching?
Well, I thriving as humans, just wanting people to live in their joy, honestly. That's what it comes down to.
And that's a beautiful reason to get into it. So, what have been some of the most pivotal moments in your own journey that shaped the strategies you teach today?
Yeah, wanting to live my healthiest, happiest life, but coming from a state of coherence and navigating from authenticity and not abiding by shoulds and shouldn'ts. I have a nonprofit entity where it's all about contributing and being of service, but understanding that building a better world is an inward to outward process. More internally stable, set, established, happy, healthy, the better you are to function out in the world, the less burnout, the less I see people or find myself feeling depleted. I was an entrepreneur from the time I was 20, 21, and so I'd always worked for myself. My own sense of lifestyle and ambition was my accountability. And I built really wonderful things, but I was very, very, very depleted. And I wasn't navigating from a state of coherence. I was navigating from a lot of fear based obligations. And I realized I was finding myself struggling to make decisions, and I wasn't clear headed. I wasn't of sound body and mind. And my energy just wasn't in alignment. And I wasn't going ultimately where I wanted to go. I was going where I thought I wanted to go. But it turns out, you can have a successful business and you can have money and also be miserable simultaneously. And so I want everything in life. I want the total package. I want health, happiness, joy, fulfillment. I want rest. I want rejuvenation. I want vacations and family time. I want my passions, and I want my passions to be my livelihood and what ultimately, helps put food on my table. And so that's what I've done for myself now. And I hope I can be a positive influence to help others do the same.
That's very inspiring. So, when you got into this, was there a definition of success, and how has that definition of success shifted for your clients over the last few years, if you noticed any? And what have you done to adapt your coaching to meet those changes?
Success is an individually defined concept. So that would never be something that I would project onto someone else. My definition of success now has become very different than what it was, 8, 9, 10 years ago. Gosh, 12 years. Oh my God, I've been self-employed for over 12 years. Wow. Okay, well, that's cool. My success for me is simply how I feel every day. I have a very intentional kind of a state of mind that I tend to now kind of it's my homeostasis. Fortunately, now it's just where I sit and where I rest most of the time. It took me a while to discover what that was for others in defining their own sense of success. I always try to advocate, structure, guide towards that sense of success not having to do with anything external, which is hard when you're talking business. It's hard when you're talking entrepreneurship. People very much want to, especially this manifestation era that we're in right now, they want to be specific with, a dollar amount that they want to make a month and put that on your vision board. And I don't say don't do that. I just think there are many layers to the sense of fulfillment and the emotion that one is trying to achieve in securing that amount of money monthly. And that to me is the focus, because ultimately you're seeking an emotion. You're not necessarily seeking dollars and cents at the end of the day. You can think that, but that's not really what people are wanting. And I always try to advocate and steer towards defining your own, understanding of success. And I really try to help people understand that it's really it's a vibration, it's a frequency, it's a state of mind, it's a state of being. What does that feel like for you? And then you kind of work backwards from there.
So you focus heavily on mindset and strategy. Can you share how those two elements differ and why one cannot succeed without the other?
If you don't have the proper mindset, no strategy will work for you. um, I think, well, as we know, right, perception is everything. So your ability to see your reality is going to determine what your reality is for you. I can lay out strategy. Anyone can lay out strategy as far as, this plus this equals that. If you follow this, to the T, you abide by these directions, you're going to arrive here. Sure. But my perception of what that is, if you don't see it, feel it, believe it, and know it to be true for yourself, it's not going to matter. The thing that gets people to stay disciplined, to show up for themselves every day, to do the work, to take the action, that requires mindset. So mindset is really the first thing. It's where are you in your own sense of self, in your own world? How are you painting your reality? What's your relationship to your own sense of self? And from there you go into mindset, and from there you go into strategy. You really cannot exercise proper strategy without a growth mindset, an intentional mindset, an expanding mindset, positive, self-encouraging, celebratory, enjoy the journey, and there's a variety of things, your sense of self-care, your perceiving of something in more of an optimistic way, right? Very much a glass half full kind of a situation. There's a lot of things that go into it. Your relationship with fear, your thought processes as they pertain to your thought habits, as they pertain to your personality, understanding that side of yourself, taking command over that side of yourself, being able to choose what you think and how you feel, and which is not a simple thing to achieve, but it's absolutely critical if you're wanting to, as we've said, be quote unquote successful.
I agree with that. So, what drew you to focus so deeply on leadership and high performance, and what do you love most about seeing that transformation in others?
Oh, there's like three questions in one there. I For me, I don't know. I was always told that I'm just a leader. That's just my tendency. I don't self-identify as a leader necessarily. I actually self-identify as more of just a student. The more you know, the less you know, kind of a thing. I don't presume to know someone else's way through the world. I simply figured out mine, and I became, I guess you could say, quote unquote, high performing professional. And it was my own journey of self discovery, my own commitment to myself and the kind of life I wanted. Again, my intention to designing the life I wanted, that gained me a sense of wisdom along with a type of recognition. People are asking me how I do what I do. I get asked that still all the time. It's the most common question I get, next to is my hair naturally that curly. That's the second most common question I get, is how do you do what you do? How do you do all of this? Apparently or evidently, I'm seen as someone who gets a lot of things done and accomplished a lot in a short duration of time. I don't like acknowledging those things in that way, because there's a semblance of comparisons you have to compare in order to be able to derive to that conclusion. And I don't believe we should be comparing ourselves to others in any way, shape, or form. I'm of the mind of always learning. And so through that mindset, I feel it is my duty to be a positive influence and to align my own self and my beingness with that which is most healthy for me, which then creates optimal performance. That's just subsequently what happens next. And I allow myself to be seen. I allow myself to be that. And I do think that creates an example for people to find their own path, do it with a similar mindset. My way of doing something is not necessarily how I would advise someone else to do something specifically, but that intention to self, to honor that which is authentically you, to find and establish what I call an internal navigation system so that you can be decisive in making decisions, so you can prioritize how you navigate your day, so that you are engaging in tasks and you are finding yourself rejuvenated in completing those tasks as opposed to depleted, right? How do we create this energy reserve rather than constantly feeling like we need to replenish what's in the tank? And people seem to be really receptive to that. And I mean, it makes sense, right? It's like live your best life. It's do what it is. I wouldn't necessarily say that you're doing things that are always easy. That's not to say that, but you are surely when you're in alignment, you are undoubtedly following the path of least resistance. And I would encourage anyone that is my tip for the world. That's the message. Building a better world is an inward to outward process. If you're wanting to contribute to something, if you're wanting to receive something that is the product of your efforts, gosh, like, let's ensure that we're not wasting time. Let's ensure that we're adequately fulfilled every moment of every day. Let's build the relationship with what that looks like. Let's get comfortable, being in a state of, uncertainty or growth, or, these transient chapters that we find ourselves in, and be okay with that. Truly be, in the present moment, yet also plan and prepare for future goals. That right there is a skill set that takes a fair amount of attention and practice. And I got mentors, and I think it's appropriate to share wisdom and information. And so if I can do that for anyone and everyone, I'm more than happy to.
I agree with that. I had a mentor who once told me if you ever get the chance to be a mentor, you have got to step into the role and do it with a happy heart and give all you can, because that's your opportunity to really be that motivational inspiration, and you don't know how that's going to affect that person later on. So I do agree with that. In discussing the high performance lifestyle, can you tell us what that looks like on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, I'm moving and doing most of the day. And that's not to say there's no rush. I do not rush. Actually, it's a rule for myself. I do not enjoy rushing. But I definitely I favor my slow mornings, but I'm still intentionally doing. So I'm getting up at a specific time. Sometimes I allow myself to sleep in. I follow, what my body needs and wants, for sure. I follow cycles. I follow flow. I'm constantly trying to be in a state of attunement with my body, ensuring a quiet mind. That's very important. So I start my day that way. I start my day with, a really nice cup of coffee, loads of hydration. I meditate. I work out. When you're talking about being in a position to be high performing, and you're wanting to optimize that in the healthiest way possible, you have to feed your whole self, mind, body, and soul. The body affects the mind affects the body. You need to align with what really makes you happy and what your authentic truth is. I believe that is an aspect of the soul. You want to find your sense of purpose. You want to define that for yourself. You have to define your value system and get really comfortable with, how you want to show up and move through the world, and why. That will help you determine what your priorities are that day. Again, because builders of a better world, our whole mission and purpose, building a better world, is an inward to outward process. If you're going to be fit for service, you have to be fit. So I have to take care of myself, body, mind, and soul. So I start my day prioritizing that. I prioritize my long baths. I prioritize, time in nature. I prioritize things that bring me joy. And I start my day out that way. I start my day out, looking at the things that are need to accomplish. And honestly, those usually are towards the bottom of my list, because I don't navigate based on shoulds and shouldn'ts. I navigate, again, based on alignment. That sounds like, well, how do you, achieve goals that way? Well, much simpler. I got to be honest. From there, there's a series of tasks that you have to just get through. Sometimes there's Zoom meetings, there's appointments, you have to manage your schedule. I am a huge, advocate for the utmost efficiency, for understanding, the kind of tasks that deplete you versus the tasks that rejuvenate you. The tasks that deplete you need to get, assigned to someone else. You need to delegate. I have an assistant. I have someone who, helps to manage my schedule. I don't enjoy emails. Emails are the bane of my existence, so I don't look at them. have someone do that for me. The least I can fill my day with things that I really strongly dislike. Is there opportunity for reframe when you're accomplishing things that you're like, oh, I really don't enjoy this? Sometimes we do just have to do them. I don't know many people apart from our CPAs who enjoy paying taxes and things of that sort, right? There are these, necessary things that we must just accomplish and get through. That's a reframe. That's a mindset shift. And that can very easily be done. I don't want to be a person who does emails. I just don't want to be that person. I would rather spend my time doing other things. So for me, that was a task I delegated to someone else. I am queen of flow states. I am queen of understanding when my productivity is going to be optimal versus when I'm going to need to do some breath work and get myself into a shifted state. Understanding states of consciousness, mastering your state of consciousness. Whatever you can mentally show up for is what you can mentally show up for. So how do you do that? How do you prepare that for yourself? How do you choose to schedule creativity? Because that might be the way in which your lifestyle requires you to do it. So how do you just on the spot get into a creative flow state? I help people understand that. I help people understand how to master their nervous system, right? So that you're not navigating from a fight or flight. You're navigating from a fight or flight. You're not going to make the soundest decisions and you're just going to have to do things over with. I don't want to navigate my day like that. So I prioritize self-care. That's very important. It's literally how I start my day. I start my day off on, positive, high vibrating, full of gratitude. I look at my tasks. I align with that which I know I can accomplish that day based on what I can mentally show up for with pride, with integrity, with quality. If there are things that I need to reschedule, I reschedule them. If there are things I need to move, I move them. If there are things that I can delegate to someone else, I delegate them to someone else. There are things that I have that are non-negotiable, and I choose for them to be non-negotiable. They're not non-negotiable because someone else decided for me that they were. So when I have things on my schedule that I must do, I allow them to be a must do. And that is very different than having things, that you need to get done. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. So, you've recently been featured on several platforms. How does being a guest and sharing your expertise differ from one on one deep dives you do with clients?
Well, I don't one-on-one as much anymore, mostly because I don't want to do that anymore. I do retreats, I do workshops, I facilitate more larger groups. I do smaller intimate settings, but I've moved away from one-on-one just because it's not the most efficient way to spend my time. I will still do one-on-one. It's just a lot more expensive than it used to be. I want to finish my book. I have a book that's being edited right now. The first draft has been written. I want to continue to do more public speaking engagements. I want to host my workshops. I want to facilitate my retreats. That's the kind of outreach and the means in which I want to engage in sharing my time now. An intimate setting is always really lovely when you get a one-on-one chat. And those will that happens at the grocery store. I find myself falling into these really deep motivational conversations with people. And I'm always willing to share tips, tricks, wisdom, what this science says. This, is said to be most efficient. This is optimal if you're wanting to, work with some type of, somatic healing or just really getting in tune with, because that's critically important. I talk about this stuff all the time. It's very difficult to discern the difference between someone that is paying me versus someone I just happen to be standing in front of at the pharmacy for a prescription refill. Any moment I can have where I can connect with someone and feel as though I'm living my life's purpose, which is simply to just show up and be a positive influence, be a positive contribution, just be a good energy, be that high vibrating, not from the sake of pure productivity and very 3D dimensional endeavor, but more so just because my desire is to be that which I am, which is just a positive energy that contributes just by being. But I have to be in a positive, high vibrating state, in a perpetuation of gratitude, love, joy. Any way I show up, be it a speaking engagement, be it, hosting my retreats, which I love so much, facilitating a simple, meditation workshop like I'm doing on this coming Sunday, or just having a chat with someone I just met on a park bench. I'm present. That's life. And I'm going to be open and generous irregardless.
So, who are some of your own mentors or influences, and how have they shaped your perspective on human potential?
Oprah Winfrey, to be honest, I gotta say, I love her. She's not necessarily a mentor directly because I haven't personally met her yet, but I think she's a phenomenal human. And if I never meet her, I'm never, in any way associated. I'm never in any way, considered to be even remotely in the same realm, let alone category or anything as her. I just think she's fantastic. And there are things that she has spoken about that I've purposefully chosen to emulate. And so that's a very significant thing to acknowledge. Beyond that, there are always mentors for a season. I could list probably, 20 that have contributed significance to my life. Knowledge is everywhere. Wisdom is the embodiment of that knowledge. And again, I identify as a student. So you find yourself having mentors in so many different facets of life. I'm always honoring that which feels most true to me and the vibrations in which I align with the most. And I'm always finding new inspirations for doing more, doing better, doing different. There are people that I think are doing really great work in the world. Dr. Joe Dispenza and his meditations, his science, his commitment to help people change their lives. I worked as a therapist for many years, and I was told in school as I was studying psychology that, people don't change all that much. And that's the biggest load of bollocks there is. People can change to whatever extent in which they would like. And anyone that emulates that sentiment and shares that work and is willing to, be an advocate for the most profound transformation is a mentor to me. I've had wonderful professors at school. I'm a big advocate for academic learning. Massive, massive. Going to school was a very significant part of my life. And being a student, being in an environment where I am in that status of being a student has been humbling, and just it's a revelation to succumb to that and feel as though you are exactly where you're supposed to be for the rest of your life. I don't, again, presume to know exactly how to do something. I have just discovered the best ways that work for me. To list just one or two mentors other than, again, the more popular, famous names like the ones I just disclosed, it would be a really, really, really long list.
So, in your experience, what makes professional coaching valuable for people beyond just hitting, excuse me, a financial or a career goal?
You learn about yourself. You learn about yourself when you're in an environment in which you are receiving and obtaining information. Someone says, I've done this work, I have this expertise, I've gathered all this data and I've gathered all these facts. And this is very important because not everyone does this that's in a coaching position. And I am the embodiment of all of that. I am the embodiment of that knowledge. I am an embodiment of that wisdom. I have walked this walk. I have endured these transformations. I can tell you firsthand what it's like to go through what you're going through. From my own perspective, you'll relate where you will. To be in that environment is unlike any other way of trying to discover the way through something. You discover for yourself alongside this other person how you best operate, how you best think and feel and show up. I mean, that's the idea behind coaching, is efficiency, optimal productivity, right? You're trying to do something to the best of your ability. You're trying to master techniques, skill sets, right? Even meditation is a skill set. You're trying to master these things so that you can in some way improve your performance, improve your productivity, scale your business, make more money for less quote unquote work. You're seeking something. You're wanting a happier, healthier state of mind. You're wanting a team that helps navigate things more efficiently. You're wanting, yourself to secure more clients. You have these ambitions, and you can go through that on your own, or you can build a mastermind team and you can seek the brilliant individuals. There are a plethora of us all throughout the world that have gone through certain things and accomplished that which you are seeking to accomplish. It needs to be the same thing. Going to someone who, doesn't just teach, but has actually experienced. They, again, embody that wisdom. That's very important. This is a person who walks the walk, and you want to be in their shoes in some way. They will tell you how they got there, and they will help you understand how you can best get there. That is a priceless, priceless experience. And there's no way to quantify value for that. You don't find that in any other situation other than hiring a coach, being under the guidance of a mentor is the only way to do it.
So, what challenges do you see leaders and entrepreneurs facing today, especially when it comes to maintaining mental clarity in such a noisy world?
There's a lot navigating by shoulds and shouldn'ts, comparison, defining your success based on someone else's success, wanting to be susceptible to the influence of something that is taking you out of your alignment. It's dissonance. It's navigating from a state of dissonance. You're not in energetic alignment. You're not honoring your truest sense of self and your integrity in that sense of self. There are people who have a hard time, not being susceptible to other things externally telling them, whether or not they have something of value, and they have a hard time, with social obligations that are projected onto us just in the nature of the society we're in. You have to be able to navigate from a perpetuation of joy navigation system, from a gratitude navigation system. As soon as you start navigating based on worry and fear or obligation, you're out of alignment and you're going to be making decisions based on dissonance. And that is the opposite of clarity.
So, how do you stay inspired and disciplined yourself after years of pouring into the lives and careers of others?
Well, I never do the same stuff over and over again. Every day is a different day. I've purposefully designed it that way because that's what I like. For me, I'm such a creative. Generating inspiration is like, yeah, I can do that from a yoga pose. Now it's so instilled in who I am to be in awe of the world and the way the world works. When you're constantly discovering, yeah, and you're seeking to appreciate. There's just, my life is grand. I'm so beyond grateful, and there's always more. Like I said, the more you know, the less you know. And when that really, really is, kind of a lens in which you see things through, there's always new and exciting and something worth discovering. I'm an inquisitive person. I like to be curious about things. People, I believe, it would maybe be beneficial for them to be more curious about themselves and be more conscious of the way they view the world. That is an integral part in generating inspiration, motivation. I'm very, very, very rarely bored. I have conversations all the time with helping people to not find themselves bored. It's phenomenal. But yeah, I look at life as if it is a grand adventure that I am simply privileged to be a part of.
So, you touched on this just a little bit earlier, but what projects or initiatives are you working on right now that you're especially excited about for 2026?
Builders of a Better World, we're moving into a new space. I have a nonprofit, Builders of a Better World. It's really exciting. You can find out more about us at buildersofabetterworld.org. I'm finishing a book. I'm so excited to be finishing a book. It's all about that, building a better world as an inward outward process, generating inner wealth, navigating from a state of authentic coherence, and seeking and striving towards universal consciousness. It's a really, I'm really excited to have that out. And I'm really excited to be, talking about it and having it, be a more prominent topic of conversation amongst people who've actually read the material. I'm so excited about that. And then I have loads of travel. I love to travel. It brings me so much joy. Um, that's what I have to look forward to in 2026. It's been a good 6 days so far, and I am really looking forward to see what the rest is like.
So, this one's kind of a fun question. If you could coach anyone in history, living or past, who would it be and why?
Oh my god, how do you choose just one person? I mean, I honestly, like, to be really honest, I gotta say it's I would like to be really honest. This is so not me just trying to be this martyr kind of a savior. I am not coming from that place at all. But I honestly, like, if that were real and that was a genuine possibility, I would go to. I swear to God, this is just my authentic response. I would go to the people who did the most devastating destruction and see if there was anything I could do to help intervene with that. I gotta go with, like, I swear to God, I can't believe I'm about to say this aloud. Oh my God. Like the Adolf Hitlers of the world. Like, what can I do to be of service in some way to help you navigate from a more inclusive, kind, understanding, compassionate, like, humans are humans. I would go to the people that were the most lost. As fun as it would be to say, oh, I would really love to meet Albert Einstein and have, a say. I mean, he was just brilliant. He didn't need anything. Yeah, I gotta say, I would try to go for the people that were causing destruction.
That would be the way to try to fix history. I mean, that's intentional thinking and your mindset and being authentic to how can I actually prevent tragedy. So I understand where you're coming from there. Finally, what advice would you give to someone who feels stuck and wants to finally carve out their own voice and path in today's world?
You gotta really be honest with yourself about what brings you joy, what generates passion. You gotta find your passion and really hone your passion in it. And it might be multiple things. You might find that some things ignite your heart more than others, but the honesty in that can be difficult for some people. And there is definitely, a suggested way to navigate that. You could say there is a strategic approach to being able to discover that for yourself. Um, but I would say, yeah, be really honest. Be really, really, really honest, audaciously honest with yourself about what really makes you happy. Happiness and joy and fulfillment are the biggest motivators we have if you're really wanting to tap into brain chemistry and, again, getting in tune and in touch with your body and getting into that energetic alignment. It is much, much easier to know how to take action. I feel as though people get really debilitated by indecisiveness, not being able to know what steps to take next. It's incredibly amazing. It's like magic. It's magic and miracles when you can really, really get clear on exactly what you're passionate about. It gets much easier to decide how to take action and therein take that action. And that's, of course, where a coach can be of service.
Absolutely. Ashlieya, thank you so much for joining me today on the Mind of Sai Marie. It's been incredibly insightful to hear your perspective on performance and the discipline it takes to lead a truly secure and successful life. To everyone listening, you can find Ashlieya Mariano and her work in the links in the description of the show. Until next time, keep creating, keep dreaming, and remember the mind is the most powerful story we'll ever tell.